Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, a Muay Thai champion, an undefeated MMA fighter, and currently training with Jason Perillo at Ruka. She's the one and only Iasmim Casser. Iasmim, what's going on?
Hey Adam, it's a pleasure to be here in your podcast. Everything good, everything awesome this Saturday. Beautiful sunny day.
Well, I'm glad it's sunny where you are. In the part of LA where I am, it's all like funky and gray. It almost looks like the Justice League movie. That with the characters, the Marvel, DC. That shows you what I know about like the comic book realm and the whatever. I'm like, oh, Superman, Marvel. There's probably a bunch of people like, no, he just said the wrong thing. I don't know. I know about fights. That's what I know, right? No, but oh my gosh, like there's a lot to unpack, right? But we first met right before COVID hit at Submission on the Shore in Long Beach on the Queen Mary, and it was awesome. You were so sweet. Shout out to actually one of your training partners who we both know that goes to AOJ. He lives here in LA and goes all the way to near San Diego, like every day to AOJ. But he was like, "Hey, I've got this teammate and she's awesome. You should interview her." And then that's what started it. So shout out to him.
Definitely, Martin is a really good friend and an awesome training partner. And the other day we were just sparring, I think this last Thursday, and he's always a great sparring partner also. So it's really nice to know someone so cool, and I'm glad you know him too. That's how we got to know each other also.
Absolutely. Shout out to Martin Grappler. Now, obviously, you're originally from Brazil, right? So, how did were you into jujitsu? Technically, that's the mecca of jujitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is Brazil. So, did your kind of like combat sports introduction happen in Brazil?
Yeah, so I was 16, 15 to 16 years old, and I got into Muay Thai first by accident. I just had a friend that used to compete in Muay Thai, and he said just, hey, you should do a trial class, see if you like it. At the time, I think I didn't have any school. We were like in a summer break, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it. And then first time I tried, I just fell in love with it. I started doing like every single class, like Mondays to Fridays, and then even the weekends, morning, afternoon, night. I just got obsessed with it right away. And so Muay Thai was my thing at first, and I just couldn't think about anything else. Like I got so crazy about it. And then jiu-jitsu came after. When I thought about doing MMA, I met some friends that did Muay Thai and also did MMA. They didn't know any jiu-jitsu, which was crazy, and they did compete in MMA. Like in Brazil, things are a little bit rough sometimes. Like they just go out there, just want to fight and
Yeah.
have a good time, have fun. And accidentally, I met this other guy that also did Muay Thai with us, and he trained Jiu-Jitsu. And he took me to Jiu-Jitsu classes, and I actually fell in love with Jiu-Jitsu too, which made my mind a little bit confused about what I wanted to do. But my main goal has always been, ever since that day, to do MMA, to be MMA world champion, UFC world champion. And a few years later, I got this opportunity of learning more grappling when I moved out here to train with the Mendes brothers. And ever since then, I've been just focusing on grappling, learning like from zero. In Brazil, I had no experience at all with jiu-jitsu. I trained like a few times a week. I did a few competitions, but I was still a striker, like essentially a striker. So when I moved here 3 years ago, I didn't know much, and I had to build everything up like from zero. And I was like very proud of myself because I was able to achieve things like in both martial arts. In Muay Thai, when I was competing and focusing on Muay Thai, I got to be Muay Thai world champion in Thailand. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna focus on MMA. And but I never thought I could do the same thing in jiu-jitsu. You know, it's like hard to. You see MMA guys, like MMA fighters, it's hard to see. Like we have like a few examples of people like Mackenzie Dern, for
Yeah.
example, and she's my friend and my teammate also, which was Jiu-Jitsu world champion. We all know her, we all love her and
Right.
her work too in Jiu-Jitsu, and she's out there like doing great in MMA. But we don't see many like world champions in a specific martial art in MMA.
Right.
You kind of like you gotta be kind of like good, a little bit good in everything, right? Because it's just when you're there, it's like it can be anything. It can be from any martial art. That's why it's called mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think it's really nice to have people that came from a martial arts. Like they were essentially Muay Thai fighters, like you see sometimes with Muay Thai world champions, or like Holly Holm, like a boxing world champion. I think that's
Right.
really cool. And I've been kind of obsessed with mastering more than one martial art, and that's how I got into like both, like the striking and the grappling. And I wanted to masterize like everything.
Yeah.
So when I'm back to MMA, I can like like be good in any situation. If I have to strike, I'll be fine. If I have to go to the ground, I'll be comfortable. So that's what I've been working on, and now I'm back at training MMA, and that's really exciting too.
I think it's all amazing, and especially the fact that I mean, you came from, so us here, at least for me, right here in the states. When I think of like Brazilian martial arts, actually, there was this movie called Only the Strong, right, and it was about a teacher, and he basically uh, learned and was a practitioner of capoeira, right? And then he taught the capoeira to like these inner city kids. And I thought like everybody in Brazil trains capoeira. And then like the first UFC came, and then I'm like, oh, jujitsu and whatever. I'm like, and then it's like, oh, but striking and grappling, and especially when you thought about what we knew about martial arts, like striking versus grappling disciplines, it's kind of weird. Like, why would like a striking discipline and a grappling discipline come essentially from the same place? But it does in Brazil, and it's awesome. So, did you have any, especially being a stand-up Muay Thai striker, right? A striker going into grappling. Did you have any kind of like, this is weird because I mean, it's almost like a completely different like mindset, you know?
Totally, yeah. It was really hard at first. I felt like I didn't belong to jiu-jitsu. I still feel like really clumsy in jiu-jitsu, to be honest. Still feel like I'm like I don't know, like I still feel like a striker sometimes when I'm in jiu-jitsu. But the funny thing is that now that I'm back at training striking because I stopped for so long, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm a jiu-jitsu girl. I feel like I'll feel more comfortable in jiu-jitsu than in striking now. And now it's even it out, like I'm starting to see both at the same time, which is hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to like train both things. I'm still competing in jiu-jitsu. I'm growing, and my goal is to be a world champion in every belt until the black belt. And I'm just back at training striking so I can be ready for when I accomplish my goal in grappling to be thrown at the big events of MMA again. I don't want to go before I accomplish what I want in jiu-jitsu. I have like this mission,
Yeah.
this goal that I have in grappling that I want to accomplish first. But it was really funny at first, especially because whenever I got here, I had just had a surgery on my shin because of Muay Thai. Like I said, in Brazil things are a bit hard, rough, and sometimes like we did a lot of sparring without any shin guards, without nothing.
Hmm.
So my shins got a bit damaged, and I had to do surgery. And when I got here, I couldn't like train very well. I still had like it was like really sore, and I kind of doubted myself. I thought maybe, well, maybe this is not for me, and I felt really clumsy, like I said. But I'm naturally like that, and eventually I figured it out. And every single tournament that I took part on, I was like discovering something new about jiu-jitsu and using this to the next one and on to the next one and to the next one. For some reason, ever since I got here, I never lost like a competition. Like I had like really tough fights, but in my weight division, I've never lost any competitions. And using that fact, I told myself, okay, no, maybe I should do this. Maybe I can be good at this. And little by little, I was like getting more confident and confident with jiu-jitsu until I just got to the point that I said, okay, like now I'm officially a jiu-jitsu fighter also. Like, but it took me like a year maybe until I was able to fight worlds, and I won. I won open class and my weight division. So I told myself, no, okay, now I can believe myself. This is the fact that I needed to, motivate myself and
Hmm.
tell myself that I am good at this. I can do this, and I'm not just a striker. I'm capable. It was really nice. Like because before that, I still had a lot of doubts on me, like in grappling. It's a total different world than
Yeah,
striking.
absolutely. Which I mean, and it's funny because like nobody gets to like a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, especially in IBJJF. And for those who don't know, that's the International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation. They are the pinnacle in terms of what Jiu Jitsu competitions are, right? And worldwide, right? International, right? So I don't think anyone gets to a two-time world champion status and just being a striker. I mean, it's not like Derek Lewis trying submission underground, right? It's there's levels to this stuff, and you're in a completely different level. But you kind of view yourself more the striker, and I think that's super fun.
Yes. And at striking now, I still. It's funny because when I got to jiu-jitsu, I had like habits from striking that kind
Yeah,
of messed me up a little bit, and
yeah,
now I have habits from jiu-jitsu that kind of messed me up also. Like the way we stand in jiu-jitsu, like kind
right,
of like going like low
right.
and like this, like kind of in striking, Parillo is always telling me that you're not fighting jiu-jitsu right now, so stand up. You gotta stand up. Like you're not gonna take someone down right now. Right now, we're just there striking. And MMA sparring is a little bit different, but it's really hard to put everything together. Also, whenever you have the gloves on, and then you gotta strike and you gotta wrestle and you gotta like
Hmm.
ground and pound, and at the same time you have to pass the guard to get to a submission, and the other person is there trying to kill you. It's
Yeah,
really confusing.
and it's intense. It's super intense. It's like
Yeah,
you're trying to figure your own kind of mental kind of like what am I gonna do? Am I gonna pass the guard? Should I just drop an elbow on somebody or what have you? And then you've also got somebody that they don't want to go quietly. Like they're not, it's just like
yeah,
this is happening to them, so they're gonna try and fight for their life. Everybody says, "Oh, we're going 30." But really, it's a 210%. Really, in some live
definitely.
sparring, so it can be unnerving for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've been enjoying all of this. I also wanted to talk about a little bit of where I come from.
Yeah,
I
let's go.
come from like a place that's in the very, very countryside, in the very south of Brazil. So there's no MMA gyms or jiu-jitsu gyms or even Muay Thai gyms over there. I got into this, like I said many times, like kind of by accident. I had to move out when I was 13 because there was no school after the elementary school. So I needed to move to another city in order to do my high school. And I had to leave home. And this other city was also not like a big city, like have the cities we have here, but they did have some Muay Thai gyms and Jiu-Jitsu gyms.
Right.
But I like to I like to talk about where I come from because over there, and I'm pretty sure that in many other places, they have no access to. gyms or schools or things like
Schools,
that.
yeah.
People sometimes they they get lost and they think that they're comfortable with their situation and they think they can't like achieve something else. They can't like get anywhere and succeed in life, you know. And always talk about this for the people that I know from there that whatever you want to achieve, you can. It doesn't matter like where you are, and if the environment you are doesn't offer you many chances, you can build your chances. You can build up opportunities. You can find, you know, a way to whatever you want to achieve. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, everything is possible. You know. So for the people that live there, I always tell them I came from nowhere, and maybe I'm not where I wanna be yet. Like I'm not in my goal yet, but I'm on the way, and I'm already a lot far from where I started. So if you have like if you're training in a small gym, you think you can't ever be a world champion, and that's your dream. You're wrong. You can. You just need to believe it.
Wow, I think that's incredible. Especially, I thought, going into this, moving from Brazil to the U.S., that might have been like the most like, kind of anxiety inducing move that you made. But like to be on your own at 13, like, what was that like? Are you talking with your mom and going like, hey, we're going to do this? Was there kind of a mutual agreement that, you could only go so far in your town, in your village? Like, what was that conversation like?
Yeah, growing up, I didn't have a good relationship with my mom, so we kind of argued a lot.
Yeah.
But at that point, she understood that I needed to leave. Because I wasn't comfortable with that idea of just sticking there, and like I needed something else. I always like ever since I was little, I loved to read. I would go to the library. Like that was the most fun for me to like get books and to study. I loved school, everything, and I just wouldn't be able to just stop there. And I wanted something else. I wanted to like give a good life to my family. They weren't. My family was poor. Like sometimes like we had like really hard times, and I was like, I want to change it. I want to.
Yeah.
I know, like I want something else for life. And then I told this to her, even though we didn't have a good relationship. I think something from heaven came to her mind, and she said, "Yes, go, like do what you want." And then I went. And when I left home, it was hard because I was literally by myself. I didn't have help from my parents because they couldn't help me.
Right.
But my father was a musician, and I
Yeah.
learned how to play guitar when I was little, and I used that when I left home to make money, like enough to survive. Teaching kids in the school that I went to. It was like a special kind of school for not only for high school but also like for like technical courses. So I studied chemistry there along with the high school, and it was a really nice place in the city of Pelotas in the south of Brazil. It's called Ifsu, and over there I had an opportunity of teaching kids, like doing working with the music part of the school, like the cultural part of the school too. Even though I was studying chemistry, and I used that to survive over there. And I was studying. I was happy. It was a really hard time, like when I think about it today. But at the time, I was like thinking that it was the best part of like best moment I ever had in my life. I was like super comfortable with the situation, having fun, uh, learning new things, and somehow that's what led me to fighting too. Because if I hadn't left home, I would never have found this friend that trained Muay Thai when I was 15 to 16 years old, like 2 3 years after I left my house.
Wow, I think that's incredible, and especially like, and there's so many, like, there's so much to unpack. Right? Your dad's a musician. And kudos to you. My dad was a musician as well. I didn't get any of it. I to sit there and learn chords or whatever. I want to be like rock star, do that, go like that, and just be good, right? But you at 13, you develop a new skill, all right? Well, I mean, the skill was developing. You're learning an instrument, the guitar, under your dad, right? But I gotta think, because you taught courses, right? Not only did you essentially were a busker or a street performer, right, earning your living, but you're also a teacher. Did you get like any fun memories of that? Because I have to believe, right, like somebody who's learning guitar, going like, wait, my teacher is like my age or about like the same age as me, like, but I'm supposed to, like, it's weird, right?
Yeah. So at first I got to teach little kids first.
Okay.
So like kids like 7 years old, 8 years old, and that was a funny experience because I was also a kid still, and
Yeah.
sometimes like little kids are really annoying, you know. So I had to like be really patient, and sometimes I was so tired because the school was hard too. It was like the whole day, and I would teach at night or during the day, like at the school.
Right.
Um, but it was late at night, and then the kid was like, I was trying to teach the kid, and I was so tired. Sometimes I would be talking and then fall asleep, like talking, and then it's like, just and that was really embarrassing. But I had a lot of fun. I still talk to a lot of the kids that I taught, and like I said, like eventually I got this opportunity at the school of working with the music teacher there to teach the other students. Then they were my age, and it was really nice having the opportunity of learning other things also because I learned I was a guitar player, and
Yeah.
there I learned to play other things. I started learning violin, started learning a little bit of piano, not a lot. Just now I am like learning more about piano
Right.
specifically, but also like electric guitar and other little instruments like from Brazil that I don't even know the name in English,
Yeah.
but like interesting things. And I've got to learn a lot of things along with the other students, you know. So I taught them what I knew, but I was also learning. And I think that every single thing in my past, even the music, even the chemistry,
Right.
and other things that I did, it all helped me now. Like, helped me build who I am now and traits that I need now. Like the arts that I did helped me see things in a different way in martial arts. And that's how I fell in love with artist jiu-jitsu because I saw their jiu-jitsu as something different than just any jiu-jitsu, like because just watching their videos at home, like at the time, I didn't ever think that I would be able to be part of their team, to be like invited to be part of their competition team. But watching their videos at home, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. This is like, what, what type of, what is this half a guy doing? He's like
Yeah.
jumping side to side, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look real. Like it looks like everyone's just like contributing for the video to
Circus.
work, but it's not real.
Yeah.
It's like circus, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
And when I got here and I saw it was real and it worked, I was like, whoa! Like this is a way to combine art with martial arts,
Yeah.
because we forget about it, but it's martial art. It's an art
Hmm.
also. So I think that vision from music and also from uh, theater, like I was an actress for a little bit, just for fun,
Yeah.
during school too. That experience with art helped me a lot now to see things different than just I just want to kill you.
Yeah.
It's different. It's more like appreciating everything and seeing the beauty in the movements, and it's it's amazing, and it's like so it's a lot more complex than we think at first.
Oh no, absolutely. I like that you kind of understand the art of it, right? Because to me, canvas, right? Like canvas, whether you do jujitsu, whether you do Muay Thai, MMA, Taekwondo, whatever, it's all done on the mat. It's all done on a canvas. And also, what is what did Picasso use to paint his masterpieces? Canvas, art. It's all art. It's all on the canvas, right? The blank canvas. And what you do is essentially art in a high, but it's also a bit of physics, right? Because it's high level problem solving with high costly rewards, and when it doesn't go so well, it doesn't go so well. Like your shin injury in when you came over, but you figure out a way to even improve that. So I think it's pretty cool. Now, before before we move on, DJ Yannick's over on Twitch. He says hello from the UK, Great Britain, according to Woods. Looking good today. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate the hoodie. I'm glad you like it. And he said the usual question to Isamim, which his question is a quite unique one, where he wants to know what type, if you're wearing socks, and if you are, what type of socks?
um, I don't even know. It's a Tommy Hilfiger sock.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Short,
Yeah,
comfortable.
sure.
Is that
Which
your usual question?
Yeah, that's his usual question. Which it's funny that you actually go with socks. I'm barefoot, and that's maybe my mom is I mean, she's all Fijian, so I'm half Fijian. My mom's side of the family come from the island, so whenever I can get a chance to go barefoot, that's what I'm rocking. And especially like when we go like jujitsu, like oh we can not wear shoes, cool, bro. Like that's what I'm doing. No shoes all day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of cold, so that's why I wear
Oh,
socks.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. It is cold. It is cold. Now, obviously, you transition from, a. I mean, I think it's a accepted art of teaching guitar and mastery of guitar, and then you meet this friend, and he's like, "Hey, I think you should do Muay Thai." Did you know about Muay Thai? Like, what was your knowledge about Muay Thai before you actually started training?
I knew nothing about any martial art.
Really?
Actually, I had some cousins that did like judo, and I
Hmm.
watched them training one time or two, but I just it never really caught my eye. I was like, okay, like my parents didn't have um, a way to put me in classes, especially because there was no school there, and if there was, it would be like expensive. Everything's really expensive in Brazil,
Yeah.
but Muay Thai was totally new when I first got to it. It was like I had no idea of anything, and then little by little, I learned about other martial arts too, and I thought there was so many different things, and they were all so interesting. I never got the opportunity to learn judo like my cousins always wanted me to, but I mean, it was a total new world, different than anything else.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, speaking of things that loves, DJ Yannick says, brilliant. Cheers, buddy. Cool socks, Isamin. And finally, a guest with socks. Because the last couple of interviews have been with people in Scotland, and they're on like the third lockdown. So they're like, we're at home,
Oh,
no socks. No socks, no shoes, no problem. so so yeah, he's like, yeah, finally I guess it sucks. Right on. No, but I think it's amazing that I mean you didn't know anything of this world and then you start to do it. And I think it's funny because like you do I guess traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu in a gi, but when your cousins were doing judo, you're like, I'm okay. That's cool.
yeah,
Not me.
yeah. But we did wrestle a little bit, like when we fought, like me
Yeah.
and my cousins.
Yeah,
But
there you
I'll
go.
always lose because I was just so skinny. I was
Hmm.
so skinny. I probably weighed like under 100 pounds, and I was super tall. Even when I was young, I was super tall and skinny, so I would always lose to them. It was so frustrating.
I could only imagine. I could only imagine. Now, so in terms of, finding jujitsu after Muay Thai, like, does your initial introduction happen in Brazil, or Do you wait to come here to start kind of really getting into jujitsu?
I got into jiu-jitsu like training every day here
Huh?
when I moved here. But in Brazil, whenever I thought of competing at MMA, when I met this other friend, like I said, I had so many cool friends that got me into things that are not that cool if you think like in a way that it's so much damage in your body, but like
Yeah.
without these friends, I wouldn't be here. So
Yeah.
this other friend, after I was doing Muay Thai, he did Muay Thai and he also did Jiu Jitsu. It's the one that took me to the Jiu Jitsu. So my first contact with Jiu Jitsu was back in Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
but I did like mainly nogi and not very often, like
Ah.
once a week, twice a week, just because I wanted to see how it was and
Yeah.
if I actually could ever really do MMA. I never thought I would do it professionally though, like, at the time. Never. I think I only believed that I could do it professionally when I got this opportunity of moving to the capital of my state to train at this place called Boxer MMA,
Mm-hmm.
and the master over there, he saw me when I was 17. He saw me sparring, I think, in Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of girls over there like doing MMA. And he saw something in me that he thought I could be. I don't know. He saw something in me, you know. And he said, whenever you turn 18, if you want, you can come and train at my gym, MMA gym. And I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool," you know. So when I turned 18, I had just graduated also in a chemistry technician course and high school.
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. So I moved to this capital of the state. It's called Porto Alegre City,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it was a big change because that was a big city, and until that moment I was living in the countryside still, so I didn't know nothing,
Yeah.
about how things work in a big city. So it was always like a new step to something I knew nothing about, you know. So there, I was still a striker, like mainly, like I said, like training jiu-jitsu just like a few times a month, not very focused, just to defend myself on the ground in case someone took me down for MMA. And when I moved there to train MMA professionally, it was the same thing. Like I was training jiu-jitsu, but not as a competitor, not as
Yeah.
thinking that I would ever be a jiu-jitsu fighter, or like not ever thinking I would be a world champion for sure. And I competed professionally in MMA, even though I had no real experience with grappling, which is crazy if I think about it
Yeah.
now. And I finished the fight with the submission.
What?
Yeah, it was funny. It was like the first round, I think like a minute and a half. I was just too scared. I was like 18 years old, and this girl like looked super strong, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna kill me. So my
Yeah.
instinct was to just grab her and do like some takedown that I saw in a UFC fight or something, like as I was watching fights in the TV. So I did like a hip throw that I literally saw in the TV, like saw watching fights in the TV, just by instinct, by because I didn't want to get killed. And my instinct was also to do a rear naked choke. I ended up in the back and did that. Yeah, like it's not like I had no clue of jiu-jitsu, but I was
Right.
a white belt. Like, consider
Yeah.
me a white belt, one stripe, you know?
Wow.
I was kind of like that. And then how I got here at Art of Jiu-Jitsu and completely into Jiu-Jitsu is
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that moved from my city, from my hometown, to
Right.
train here with the Mendes brothers. And they were always obsessed with them and with Art of Jiu-Jitsu. So I came here to visit them, and I did a training session in Art of Jiu-Jitsu as a white belt. And Professor Yi was there, and he was like watching me train, watching me spar. It turns out, since I was here, I signed up for Worlds. At the time, I
Really?
was a white belt. What happened is that whenever I got there, I was super excited to compete, and they did not let me compete because the girl I was supposed to compete against, I guess she looked up my name and she thought I had the MMA fight. And for the IBJJF rules, if you are an MMA fighter, technically you cannot be a white belt. You have to compete as a blue belt. You know, so I couldn't see, and I was so frustrated. I started crying, and then Professor G, I didn't know him. I never thought that he was actually watching me spar or doing nothing. He came up to me and he was really nice, telling me that like if you have a goal, you don't give up on it. And next year I could come back and train, and I'll be welcome. And one day I'll be able to fight. I'll be able to fight that same girl and get my revenge or
Yeah.
whatever. He was really nice to me. He was talking to me. Okay, turns out I'll go back to Brazil. I get the blue belt, even though I was not a blue belt, because I couldn't ever compete again if I wasn't promoted, right? So this other year I came to visit again, and Professor G had a conversation with me saying that if I wanted to, I could move here and be part of their competition team. He said he saw something in me, and he believed I could be a world champion in every belt until the black belt, and still have my goal with the MMA at the end. And he said that jiu-jitsu would help me and make the path easier whenever I got back to MMA, make it shorter, since I would be already known in jiu-jitsu. Because
Yeah.
Muay Thai, no one really watches Muay Thai. I feel like jiu-jitsu is more
Unfortunately.
popular right now, I think.
Yeah.
So he told me kind of like, well, have Mackenzie Dern as an example. And it turns out now Mackenzie Dern is my teammate. And it's funny because like she did exactly what I'm doing right now. Like accomplishing my goals in jiu-jitsu, and then I want to go to MMA. But I didn't white tie before. That's the only difference between us. But she has always been an inspiration ever since I got into the jiu-jitsu world. And yeah, like I was super stoked with what he told me. I never thought that he was even watching me ever.
Yeah.
And the fact that he believed there was something in me in jiu jitsu made me believe too. And I went back to Brazil, told my family, I'm gonna give it a shot, another shot at this. Like, I told myself, if this is working, I'm gonna keep going. I'm never gonna stop until I have like a resolution. Like, okay, then now 1 year has passed, and I feel like I haven't developed nothing. I haven't gotten better, and but ever since I started doing this, like every time I look back, I feel like I learned a lot and I grown a lot as a martial artist and as a person. I feel like martial arts have made me a better person, and I don't know. It has always been growing. It was never something that I could say, no, I lost time, I wasted time like doing this. No, it has always been great to me. So I never even had the chance of thinking about, okay, this is not working out, so I'm gonna stop. And somehow I went really far. Literally half world far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I gotta like I, I I I have to know, like, how do you keep yourself motivated? I mean, on your own at age 13, I might have a 13-year-old, and I don't know if he was presented the same circumstances that you were, that he would be able to figure out how to bathe, clothe, provide for himself, eat, and everything like that, right? And you've done it in multiple deals. You had your education stuff, right? You had your, and it's funny because at a time where like a lot of kids are at school on the computer, right? But then you'll see them looking up like Pokemon videos on YouTube and what have you, right? And they don't necessarily have that motivation for you to like accomplish so many things in so many different aspects of, you know, a getting to school, b you figuring out a way to, provide for yourself, c the fact that you find, like Muay Thai and you didn't know about it, like all of these complex things, even coming over here and learning English. That's another, like, you have to be a mechanic, right? Especially Portuguese is so much different. And that's assuming that your town spoke traditional Portuguese, not a regional dialect, right? So there's so
Yeah.
many things that are going on, and so many, so many ways that you could be like, I'm good at this, and I'm gonna like maybe relax a little bit. But you've kept yourself motivated in every single instance. Where does that come from?
Well, I think first of all, it's from will. It's like the power of will. Because if you're uncomfortable, I think that's a force that moves you. Because you want to be comfortable, you want to succeed, you want to, have something. And since it was really hard when I was being raised, I think nothing could be worse, honestly. But I wasn't aware that there was something better, or like that the situation I was in wasn't normal, or that it was bad. I wasn't aware of that, so I was happy. I wasn't aware that like living with the least wasn't something you know okay to um I just tried to enjoy the nice moments, and I wasn't aware of the situation I was. So whenever I stepped out of the house, and I was like living by myself, I wasn't ever feeling like bad, because it was better than at home. It was hard, but it motivated me to keep going, because I was being able to. I was capable. I was doing my best, and I knew I had to, because I had nothing to go back to, really. Like, because if I failed, I would be back to nothing.
Right.
My life would be what? I don't know. Nothing against, like, when you live in the countryside and you are a farmer or something, and you have like a nice life with your family. But that wasn't my situation. Like, we didn't have like a farm or anything. We didn't have
Right.
anything. So I really didn't have the option of stopping, because I had this will of changing the situation, changing my family situation. Whenever I realized that there was something else, when I had the age that I realized, okay, like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this to be this way. But I was so used to that situation that whatever came next, when I was by myself, wasn't bad enough to make me even blink about it. It was actually great compared to what I was used to. So I think that feeling of being a little bit better every time is what kept me going. Because, like I said, like, every time I look back, I'm never walking backwards. I'm always walking forward. I'm always better. So if I stop, like, I don't want to go back. I just want to, like, keep achieving things, and getting better, and learning as a person, and helping my mom, my dad, to become better as person, as people too. Help other people too. That's something that really motivates me. Also, like I said, like, to motivate other people. It's what motivates me a lot. Like, the people that came from the same place I'm from.
Yeah.
If I'm able to motivate them, that's like, okay, there's people that are counting on me to have that thing that pushes them. So I can't stop, because there's people looking up to me. There's people that think, oh my god, she's there, she achieved what she wanted, so I can too. you know so I feel like, if I failed this, then I'm failing these people too. So there's a lot of things that keep me going, actually. And this moment with the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything, it was really trying moment. because no competition and I mean it's hard to keep yourself motivated when there's no worlds, for example, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I found myself in a way that I had never before because I had the time to figure out things that I didn't have time when I was just going, competing all the time, you know. So I learned a lot about myself, and that's gonna make me a better athlete for when there's worlds, you know. Because now I'm not in a rush so much like I was before. I'm taking my time and enjoying the moment, seeing what's really important. You know, there's also another situation here that was really hard for me that I thought about like going back home a bunch of times is that I'm not able to go back home right now because if I go, I cannot come back in the U.S. because
Right.
of the pandemic. I have an athlete visa. All
Right.
the U.S. embassies are closed ever since the pandemic started. So if I go, in order to come back to the U.S., I need to get a like a pass in the embassy to
Right.
get in, and I wouldn't be able to do it right now. So it's been
Wow.
over a year. And before that, I was in the visa process, which took me about a year and a half. So I've been here for 3 years and I haven't been able to go back home. I have an old grandma that's like over 80 years old. My mom just had like really bad like health issues and I
Yeah.
couldn't go, you know, because I knew that if I went, I would be giving up on my dream, you know, and I would be going backwards, you
Yeah.
know. So that was really trying to me and resist like enduring this and
Yes.
winning that feeling like oh my god, I want to go so bad, I want to go so bad, made me really stronger now everything is good like with my family and I hope the pandemic, you know, things with like traveling and now with the vaccination, like it will go well and then eventually they're gonna open up the borders again, everything will be fine, I'll be able to go and I'm way better like in my mind like dealing with the situation, but it was really hard like feeling like oh my god, like maybe if I don't go now I won't see my grandma ever again, you know.
Wow.
And being able to put my goal first was hard because I felt like I was betraying them, but
Yeah.
also I felt like okay, but if I go and I give up, then I don't achieve my goal, then I'm not able to help them
Right.
have a better life anymore, you know? So it was a really trying situation, you know. But a lot of like all of these things that I told you about, they keep me going. Like the power of will, motivating other people, being an example for other people, for kids in my neighborhood back in Brazil, for people here at AOJ, teammates, the kids at AOJ that I teach also that look up to me as an example too. You know, so there's a lot of things, and it's not like only about myself. You know, it's about many things, and I feel like after this really hard moment, I'm stronger than ever. Like I feel like if this didn't stop me, nothing else will. You know.
I love it. I mean I'm inspired. I am absolutely inspired, and oh man. And James Wheeler over on YouTube says Happy National Women's History Month, which I mean,
Woo!
yeah, absolutely. And I would be hard pressed not to consider you one of those strong women throughout history. That when we look back, 10 years from now, and like what, you know, who created positive change, and like you said, it's not just within your family. It's not just in your small, village in South Brazil. It's like, and the kids that you are actively teaching now, it's just like there's so many, and it's just like almost like the ultimate kind of like appreciation is it not even like not even to be seen as like a strong woman, just like a strong person that went through something, that just happens to be a woman. Like I love that people are like, hey, Amanda Nunes could probably take out like dudes, and that's like,
Definitely.
and not be wrong, right? Like that is cool. Like, for it's just history. It doesn't become like Black history or U.S. history or Asian history. It just gets to be history that everybody is looking, and doesn't matter if you're boy, girl, LBGTQ, what have you, that these inspirational people are doing things that inspire you and just like going forward. Because life is hard, but if you've got those kind of inspirational things to kind of lead you along and inspirational stories and stuff, like that's where that is. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, living in America, like the fact that you got a submission off of just watching, fights on YouTube, right? And then also on YouTube, you're looking at AOJ and Mendes brothers who look like they are gymnasts. They are, circus performers, do these incredible things, and then now you're training at the gym. You talked about the story of, them kind of, the professor kind of looking at what you're doing, even you not knowing that he noticed, and then going back to Brazil and then coming back here. But now you're here, and then also on the striking side, you're training out Ruka and Jason Perillo, Mackenzie Durham, who is a motivation for you personally, right? She's your teammate. You get to know her on a level that most people don't and train. Like, does it all feel surreal? Does it feel worth it?
It feels totally worth it. It feels like everything that I went through, it's like paid off. Like it's paying off. Like everything was worth it. Everything took me to the highest level of training. Um, of course, like it's anything. Nothing in the sport is for sure. It's like it's certain. Like you
Right?
could be a success. You could fail. You could get to the top and then get injured and then stop and you cannot do it ever again. You know, but I am in the place that gives me all the opportunities I need and all the knowledge I need. So it's where I've always wanted to be. Like I have great training at jiu-jitsu. I have great training at striking. I have all the opportunities around me. So all the odds are telling me go for it. Like you were right to give it a shot a few times in the past in Brazil, because somehow you got to where you wanted to be, or for where it was best for you to be. For anyone that wants to do like MMA or even just jiu-jitsu, or even just boxing, it's I feel really blessed to be training where I'm at right now, and just by watching them, like Mackenzie or even Cheeto Vera
Yeah.
or Mike Bisping or like a lot of these other guys train there too. Like TJ Dillashaw goes there all the time. Other girls like Chris Cyborg,
Yeah.
Rafael dos Anjos,
Yeah.
like Luke Rockhold, like many people that they like right now. Mackenzie's active like in UFC and Cheeto too, but
Yeah.
BJ Penn, for example, he's always there. So he's like a source of knowledge that it's crazy. So like, oh my god, it's right there. Like I can just go and ask him whatever I want, and it's amazing because they're all friendly and nice and they want to help. And just by watching, I've been learning. Like I've been training there for only like 3 or 4 months, like every day, and just watching, like my vision, my eyes are like open, like totally different than anything I've done before. Like my vision of martial arts has grown so much. It's crazy. And training in a Perillo too, like he tells you exactly what you need to know, like exactly what you need to improve. It's crazy, and it's also fun, really fun to do like sparring and then have all these monsters that are watching you and telling like and rooting. It's crazy. It's like surreal. You actually gotta turn it off because you could be like I could be affected by all this
Yeah.
craziness. I actually, when I'm there, I actually think of it as a normal environment. You know, same thing in LJ. I think of everything as normal. I don't think about like, oh, how many times Rafa was black belt world champion, or the crazy history of all these people at Ruka. Like UFC world champions, you know. I don't think about it. I just like I try to absorb as most knowledge as I can. But when I get home, sometimes I feel like, whoa, you know.
No, that's it. I mean, I can only imagine it, and even via this, right? Like, interviewing, podcasting. I'm all like, you're a fan first, right? Anybody that tells they're not a fan of this, like they're lying, right? Whether it be the people involved, the fighters, the promoters, or what have you. Just everybody, we're fans first, and then professionals. Oh, I think almost second, and like the interviews that I've been able to do, and like this right here, it's just like I don't get it, but I guess okay, like
Yeah.
and most people are like, oh, but you're putting in so much work, like you do, like it doesn't feel like work. This is the first time in my life doesn't feel like work. The last 5 years of being able to kind of create this career hasn't felt like work, and I imagine that's what it must be for you, but also probably the people that you're in the room with, right? These legends, like almost everybody that you mentioned, UFC champions, right? Got to the pinnacle of where the sport can give you, but I'm sure they're looking at like, well, I'm just another person amongst another group of legends. I might go anywhere. I might go to the mall. People want to ask for my autograph and whatever and take pictures. But now everybody here is legends and everything like that. So I'm sure they feel like every day, and they're probably even looking at you like this is the next generation of what we were. Like we have to keep on point because it could end like that.
Yeah. And life is only once, so we gotta give it a shot.
Gotta give it a shot. Gotta give it a shot. Now, obviously, you mentioned about Chris Cyborg and Mackenzie Dern. James Wheeler wants to know what's your take on women's MMA because it's a different place than the one that you entered in, a couple years back, right? But now there's Invicta. LFA has a strawweight division. There's 4 divisions of women's MMA in the UFC. There's a couple in Bellator. Uh, now women's MMA, they're breaking new ground, right? So, what is your take on the entirety of women's MMA?
So my first experience watching UFC and watching MMA, I cannot forget about Ronda Rousey
Hmm.
because it was like my main inspiration ever since the beginning. I started watching her kind of like at the end when she was already stopping, but she was
Right.
still like crazy, like no one could take her down. And she was she was like Mackenzie Dern is for me now was for me now for jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
but for MMA, like
Right.
she was just, oh my god, like watching her I was like, I want to be this girl, I want to do this. Probably that's why I did the crazy judo throw that I did in my MMA pro fight, not knowing any grappling, of of so much watching Ronda Rousey judo throw people, because it was just amazing. And I mean, there's a lot of aspects about her personality that a lot of people don't like, but we cannot deny the fact that she opened up the doors for women in MMA, because Dana White did not want girls in
Yeah.
UFC at first,
That's
but he had to realize that she like was something that would bring him a lot of money
yep.
because of her image, because of the way she could all be a fighter, be tough, beat everyone, but also be a woman, be
Yeah.
beautiful or be like pick up, and be something that people want to watch. And I'm really grateful for her for opening up the doors for girls. I think without her, things would be a lot slower still. Um, well, after her retirement, like all these tough girls showed up, like Amanda Nunes, like even the rise of Holly Holm was to the shot at the title. So
Yeah.
it was really nice to see all the striking also because before it was mainly like the grappling, and now it's at a level that it's crazy. Like I'm pretty sure, like you said, like I'm pretty sure Amanda Nunes could take down a lot of these guys out there, like
Yeah.
in MMA. You know, she's a beast. And the funny fact is that she's in my weight division for MMA. So
Wow.
maybe when I start competing, I think I'm gonna start competing again in MMA in a year and a half, about a year and a half again.
That's
So
yeah.
I'll probably be there while she is too. So maybe we'll have an encounter one day.
Never say
I don't
never.
know.
Yeah, never say never, and especially you shoot for the moon, even if you land short, you land among the stars, and that's make your goals big, make your goals grandeur, because the work that you do getting those bigger goals would probably be even more than you got the smaller goals, and you hit it, and then you're looking like, okay, what now, right? And I think that's kind of where like John Jones kind of went awry. There's a lot of things there, not trying to down him or anything like that, but like he's got the goals, getting the title, and then now he has the title. What happens, right? So that's that's my take, So it's just it's different, But and heck, we're talking about Ronda Rousey. We can't forget. I mean, her essential teammate, right, at the Olympics, Kayla Harrison, is tearing things up in PFL. PFL, tournament champion, just competed in a cool little deal, like a they PFL loaned her to Invicta for a night, and she won at Invicta. So, you know, Kayla Harrison is doing big things. So, Clarissa Shields getting into it. You talked about like, the martial artists, and boxing is a martial artist, arguably the best boxing, especially women's boxing martial artists coming over to MMA. I think it's amazing. So I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm super excited. That's why it's so exciting to have you here. I can't thank you enough. Now, obviously, Isamim, there have been a lot of people that have helped you along the way, both professionally, personal, friends, sponsors, all that. So take as long as you like. Let's go ahead and get some shout outs out of the way.
Well, definitely. Well, first off, my first MMA gym now, Muay Thai gym, Muay Thai combat. So my master, Rogério Mena, it was it was a bit crazy, but he was the one that got me crazy too, right? By liking to get punched in the face or kicked in the face, So shout out to him. And my friend from jiu-jitsu that got me into jiu-jitsu, which we call him Testa, and now he lives here, and I'm able to go visit him when I want, so which is really nice. My first MMA master, Fabiano Bocuse. My first jiu-jitsu master, Daniel Folgado. These are all like kind of like slang names, like they're
Yeah.
never like their actual names, but we know them by their nicknames. Um, Go to campus, which I trained with when I was in the capital of my state back in Brazil.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about him, but he was also really great name in jiu-jitsu a few generations ago, and yeah, he's a great friend also. Shout out to Guilherme and Rafa Mendes, who saw something in me and eventually turned out to actually be something, which I'm really grateful for, and grateful for all the knowledge that they've been giving to me, and to Perillo too, to my main investor Juliano Fagundes Barcelos, which has been helping me ever since I started this, and to my family back in Brazil that I love and miss so much. And to you, thank you for having me here.
The pleasure's all mine. And again, it's kind of crazy that it's literally been a year, but I'm so honored to have you here. Now, for those who want to follow the life and times of Isamim Casser, where can they find you on social media?
Um, my social media, I'm not so good at Instagram, but I do have it. It's Yasmin Casser, Iasmim Casser, and
There
my
it is.
Facebook is the same thing.
There it is. I love it. I love it. But again, it's so good to have you on. I thank you. Can't thank you enough for coming on a this kind of Saturday afternoon. And thank you guys for listening and watching us here at According to Woods. Now, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, it's me. You're subscribed, right?
I'm not yet, actually. I'm going to subscribe right now.
Bam. See this? See? That happened live on air. So be like Iasmim and be like me. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. But if you don't believe our words for it, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods